Look, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but some people act like wanting nice things makes you shallow or whatever. If you're going to judge me for that, then maybe hit like and subscribe, because this story gets wild, and I need all the support I can get right now. So I'm Hannah, 29, and I'd been with Shane for 3 years, living together for one of those years in his little house that he was so proud of owning. Don't get me wrong, it was cute and all, but driving up to my firm in that beat-up Honda Accord every single day was embarrassing. My coworkers all had decent cars, and here I was pulling up looking like I was still in college or something. Shane made good money as some kind of software developer, but the man lived like he was broke, always talking about investments and early retirement, like we were 60 years old. I'd been dropping hints for months about maybe upgrading our lifestyle, a little posting pictures of cars I liked on my Instagram stories, casually mentioning how nice Beau's new BMW looked when we saw him at dinner. But Shane would just nod and change the subject, or worse, start lecturing me about depreciation and interest rates, like I was asking him to buy me a yacht. The thing that really got to me was how he acted like his way of living was so smart and mature, while treating my desires like they were frivolous and stupid. I mean, we're young, we both have good jobs. Why shouldn't we enjoy life a little? But every time I brought up the car situation, he'd get this condescending tone and start explaining why the Honda was perfectly fine and paid off. Like that was supposed to make me feel better about being seen in it. His brother Chase had this gorgeous Porsche and lived in this amazing penthouse downtown. And I could see Shane got weird whenever I mentioned how successful Chase seemed. There was definitely some jealousy there, which made it even more frustrating that Shane wouldn't step up his own game. I started noticing how differently people treated me when I was with Chase versus when I was with Shane. Servers were more attentive people, were more interested in conversation. Even my own friends seemed more impressed. It wasn't about the money, exactly. It was about the respect that came with looking successful. Shane just didn't get that image matters in the real world, especially in my line of work, where first impressions can make or break deals. I tried explaining this to him so many times, but he'd just shrug and say something about not caring what other people think, which was easy for him to say, since he worked from home half the time. The final straw came when my coworker Nolan made a comment about my college car in front of our whole team during lunch, and everyone laughed. I felt so small and embarrassed, and when I told Shane about it that night, he just said, Nolan sounded like a jerk, and I shouldn't worry about it. That's when I realized he was never going to understand how this affected me, how it made me feel like he didn't care enough about me to want to present us as a successful couple. So last Tuesday, I decided to have a real conversation about it. I brought up the BMW again, explaining how we could easily afford the payments and how much it would mean to me. Shane got that look on his face. You know, the one where he's already decided I'm being unreasonable before I even finish talking. Hannah, the Honda runs perfectly fine. It's paid off. Why would we take on a car payment for something we don't need? Because everyone at my firm drives something nicer. It's embarrassing pulling up in that thing. That's such a weird mentality. You make good money, but you want to live like you're broke just to impress people who don't matter. And there it was, that condescending tone again, like I was some shallow little girl who didn't understand real priorities. Something in me just snapped. The fight escalated fast after that. I brought up everything. His boring wardrobe of jeans and polo shirts, his cheap hobbies like gaming and reading, his complete lack of ambition when it came to job hopping for better salaries. You have no drive, Shane. You're content being mediocre your whole life. Mediocre, I'm building wealth for our future, while you want to blow money on status symbols. Status symbols? It's a car, not a diamond tiara. Your brother Chase would never live like this. Shane went quiet for a second, and I could see I'd hit a nerve. Good. Maybe now he'd listen. What's that supposed to mean? It means Chase knows how to live. He takes care of himself. He has nice things, he looks successful. I gestured at his faded t-shirt and 5-day stubble. You look like you've given up. So you want me to be more like Chase? I want you to want more for yourself, for us. God, I should have dated him instead. At least he knows how to treat a woman right. The words were out before I could stop them, but I wasn't sorry I said them. Shane needed to hear it. He needed to understand that his little penny-pinching lifestyle was holding us both back. But instead of getting upset or defensive like I expected, Shane got this weird calm look on his face. It was almost scarier than if he'd started yelling. You know what? Let me help you with that. Before I could ask what he meant, he pulled out his phone and FaceTimed Chase. My stomach dropped a little, but I figured Shane was just going to complain about me to his brother or something. Chase answered on the second ring. Hey bro, what's up? Hey Chase, you're on speaker. Hannah here has something to tell you. I felt my face get hot. Shane, what are you doing? Hannah was just telling me she should have dated you instead. Thinks I'm a loser. What do you think? Want to trade? I wanted to grab the phone and hang up, but Chase was already laughing. Not a polite laugh either. A full belly laugh like Shane had just told the funniest joke he'd ever heard. Hannah, you serious right now? We were fighting and I stammered, trying to figure out how to explain without sounding completely awful. Nah, let me tell you something about my successful lifestyle, Chase said, and his voice had this edge to it I'd never heard before. You know why I drive a Porsche? Because I'm drowning in debt trying to look successful. You know why Shane drives a Honda? Because he owns it outright. Plus the house you're living in, rent-free, plus about $500,000 in index funds. My mouth fell open. $500,000. That couldn't be right. Those boring investments he's always talking about. Dude's got more in stock options than I make in a year. That cheap hobby of gaming. He's been mining crypto since 2015 and still has most of it. I felt like the room was spinning. Shane had been sitting on all this money while I drove around in that embarrassing Honda, while I felt like we were barely getting by. But here's the best part, Chase continued, and now he sounded almost angry. Remember last year, when I disappeared for 3 months on that business trip? I was in rehab for cocaine addiction because trying to keep up appearances nearly killed me. Shane paid for the whole thing, $30,000. Never asked for a penny back. Shane looked uncomfortable now, like he hadn't wanted that detail to come out. So yeah, Hannah, you can totally date me instead. I'm sure you'll love the $200,000 in student loans, the leased car I can barely afford, and the apartment I'm 3 months behind on rent for. Oh, and Shane, can you spot me again this month? We'll talk later, Shane said quietly. Hannah, you still there? Chase asked. 'Cause if you really think my brother's a loser, you're too stupid to date either of us. He hung up. I stood there feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. Shane had $500,000 more than that, and he'd been letting me drive around in that Honda while I felt embarrassed every single day. You have $500,000. More now, actually. Market's been good. Why didn't you tell me? Shane looked at me like I'd asked the stupidest question in the world. Why would that change anything? I'm the same person I was 5 minutes ago. But we could have been living better, traveling, nice things. We could have, but I chose security over appearances. If that makes me a loser in your eyes, then I guess I'm a loser. I tried to backtrack, realizing how bad this looked. I didn't mean it. I was just frustrated about the car thing. No, you meant it. And now you know you were wrong about the money, but you were right about one thing. We're not compatible. What are you saying? I'm saying you should pack your things, stay with your sister tonight. We'll figure out the logistics later. But I wasn't about to just give up, not after finding out what Shane was really worth. I mean, the man had been essentially lying to me for 3 years about our financial situation. That night, I didn't pack anything. Instead, I made his favorite dinner, wore that dress he always liked, and tried to smooth things over. Babe couples fight, it's normal. We're stronger now that everything's out in the open. Shane barely looked up from his plate. Hannah, you told me you wished you dated my brother. That's not a fight. That's you showing me exactly how you see me. I was just mad about the car thing. No, you revealed how you actually think about me. And the second you found out about the money you wanted to stay. That tells me everything I need to know. The next few days were a nightmare. I tried everything. Tears, apologies, even called his mom to see if she could talk some sense into him. But apparently Shane had already told her what I'd said about Chase, and she was not having it. Hannah, sweetie, I never liked you much anyway. Need help packing her things, Shane. Thanks a lot, Sharon. Real supportive. Then I tried his dad, thinking maybe he'd be more reasonable. Big mistake. Shane's dad texted him. Right after our call, your girl just tried to convince me you're having a mental breakdown. Block her number, son. By Friday, I was desperate. I posted on Facebook about how Shane was kicking me out over a lifestyle disagreement, hoping our mutual friends would see how unreasonable he was being. The post got some sympathy at first until Chase commented, lifestyle disagreement, wanting him to lease a BMW he doesn't need while contributing $0 to household expenses. Interesting spin? I deleted the post within an hour, but screenshots were already making the rounds. My sister Miranda called me that afternoon. Hannah, what the hell, you're staying at my place, saying Shane went crazy, but you won't tell me what the fight was actually about. So I had to explain the whole thing. The BMW pressure, calling Shane a loser, saying I should have dated Chase instead. The money revelation, everything. There was a long pause after I finished. Hannah, you've always been like this. Remember Tony? You dumped him for not having ambition right before his plumbing business took off. He's making bank now. That's different. Is it you measure people's worth by what they drive and where they live? I thought you'd grown out of it with Shane, but apparently not. Even my own sister was taking his side. This was unbelievable. Saturday morning, I showed up with a U-Haul and my mom for moral support. Mom immediately started in on Shane. How dare you humiliate my daughter like this, making her homeless over words? She's not homeless, Mrs. Chen. She's moving back to her apartment. Right because I kept my old place and been renting it out while living with Shane rent-free. Suddenly that detail seemed important. You wasted 3 years of her life, Mom continued. If you did, she lived here free, saved all that rent money, and called me a loser. Who wasted whose time? My best friend Kayla jumped in. You're seriously ending this over one fight? Men are so fragile. It wasn't a fight. It was Hannah revealing she's only interested in image and money. That's not true, I protested. I loved you before I knew about the money. But you called me a loser when you thought I didn't have any. That's the point. And that's when I lost it. I was tired of everyone acting like I was the bad guy here. You know what, fine. You are a loser, Shane. What kind of man hides that kind of money from his girlfriend? That's manipulation. You tested me. I lived within my means. You failed a test I wasn't even giving. Loading my stuff was a nightmare. I tried to take things that should have been ours. The TV we watched together, kitchen appliances, I'd used even Shane's gaming console. That's communal property after 3 years, I argued. Receipts are in my name. Put it back. Every single item became a battle. Finally, I had everything that was actually mine loaded up. I turned around for one last shot. You'll regret this. No woman's going to want a cheapskate who hides money. Better than a woman who only wants the money. Kayla decided to add her 2 cents. You'll die alone with your precious portfolio. Maybe, but at least I won't die broke with someone who calls me a loser. I peeled out of there, tires squealing. Let the neighbors talk. But Shane wasn't done making my life hell. Over the next few weeks, I started getting calls from debt collectors. Apparently, Shane had been quietly paying some of my credit card bills without telling me. Bills I'd racked up, assuming we'd be sharing expenses forever. Now that I was on my own again, reality hit hard. Then came the real humiliation. I decided to apply for that BMW lease I'd wanted so badly. Denied. My credit wasn't nearly as good as I thought, especially with those missed payments starting to show up. The financial advisor at the dealership actually laughed when she saw my application. Maybe start with something more realistic. More realistic, just like Shane's stupid Honda. I tried dating again pretty quickly. Met this finance guy, Garrett, on a dating app who seemed promising at first. He had a nice car, dressed well, took me to expensive restaurants. But when I told him about Shane, maybe embellishing the story a little to make myself look better, Garrett got weird about it. So your ex was rich and you didn't know? That's kind of suspicious. He was hiding it from me. Or maybe he was smart not to trust you with that information. Even Garrett, who barely knew me, could see what Shane had seen. That stung more than I wanted to admit. The lawsuit idea came to me about a month later. I'd been struggling with rent, my credit cards were maxed out, and I kept thinking about those 3 years of unpaid domestic labor I'd provided. Surely that was worth something. I found a lawyer willing to take the case and sued Shane for $50,000. The whole thing was embarrassing. The judge took one look at my claims and dismissed everything. I had to pay court costs, which put me even further in debt. Shane's lawyer sent me a letter afterward that basically called me an idiot in legal terms. But the worst part was seeing Shane around town afterward. Not that we talked or anything, but I'd catch glimpses of him at the grocery store or gas station. He looked good, relaxed, like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. Meanwhile, I was working extra hours just to keep up with my rent and trying to figure out how to fix my credit score. The final slap in the face came about 8 months later. I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw Shane's relationship status had changed. He was dating someone new, a librarian named Rachel, who drove an even older car than his Honda and seemed perfectly happy about it. The pictures of them together made me sick. She was laughing at something he said, looking at him like he hung the moon, and he had this genuine smile I realized I'd never really seen when he was with me. Look, maybe I made some mistakes. Maybe I should have been more grateful for what Shane provided instead of focusing on what he wouldn't buy. Maybe calling him a loser and saying I should have dated his brother was harsh. But the man lied to me about money for 3 years. He let me feel embarrassed and inadequate when he could have fixed everything with one conversation about his real financial situation. I'm not the villain everyone wants to make me out to be. I just knew what I deserved and wasn't afraid to ask for it. If that makes me high maintenance or materialistic, then so be it. At least I'm not living a lie like Shane was. These days, I'm focused on rebuilding my credit and finding someone who actually values the same things I do. Someone who understands that how you present yourself to the world matters. Someone who won't hide important things from me and then act like I'm crazy for having normal expectations. Shane can keep his secret millions and his humble little librarian girlfriend. I'll find someone who actually wants to enjoy life instead of hoarding money like some kind of financial dragon. And when I do, I won't make the mistake of settling for less than I'm worth ever again.